Perfecting Brand American Medicine, my book series. So exploring the alternatives to certified public accounting and the monolithic bond-rated sects that have slowed down the global economy due to the false belief that finance can instruct operations and science what's right. Something that's proven to not be true over and over again, going back to the beginning of certified public, which traces back to 1937 with Britain's Prince going to Adolf Hitler with a tax deal that's still in place. The Caribbean islands were not owned by Britain, not by England, not the United Kingdom. It wasn't called the Commonwealth. Those were Polish in origin. Those are Lithuanian, which that covenant went missing in 1937 through 1945, and Poland wants it back. I'm descendant of Sigismund III Vasa Batavian, who was the ancient emperor of Poland, and on my mother's side of Sir Edward Spaulding, who founded Virginia, who founded New Amsterdam. He founded Needham, Massachusetts, after his wife, Princess Rachel Needham. America had knights under a time of superior performance on the global stage. That partnership with continental Europe was the missing ingredient. The cold, foreign, false histories in England, in Britain, have led to cold, foreign, false corporate histories and a series of accounting frauds, which I elaborate on in the book series. There's alternatives to that. I elaborate on the opportunity for the Batavian high-speed rail, hydro dam, petroregal, all of it customs union in a kroner, of which we did have kroners in America under prior regimes, as an alternative currency that's highly successful. That customs union can help goods and services move between America and Canada with greater ease and without the interference of England and Britain, who are violating the Monroe Doctrine every time their monarchy trespass over here. And so mostly I want to convince you that we can offer something better that was already there. Edward Spaulding introduced the apple to America. He's credited with introducing the first apple trees as part of the trade regime, of which there was an exchange of American spices, European spices, in what's undertold, but is remembered as the Dutch West India Company. And he is one that introduced the apple to America, which in his hero's journey, he explored who could have an empire of apples, of indulgences, of sin, who could have one, and who could have none. And that gave birth to New Amsterdam, which is remembered as the Big Apple, as the Empire State, and as the Empire State of States that trace back to him. His descendant married into the King Berry line of France, and that is the true origin of the French monarchy atop France. And that tradition still holds good. We're still here. We know that the apple was brought here by Edward Spaulding, as very well documented. There isn't anybody in England or Britain that introduced any agricultural goods here. They originate from continental Europe. And so mostly I want to convince you that there's alternatives to the false histories and the foreign cold bond rating appraisals that by people that are underqualified in operations, underqualified in science, where the continental kings had a very high standard for training and excellence with their knights and kings. And we all know that we need to have greater hydro dam and petroregal, and we need to, in our collaboration between America and Canada, which can include players from continental Europe, such as Latvia, Lithuania, and horse shepherd country, we're the builders of West Point, where their perspective is useful. That's the source of American optimism, is the horse shepherds. And we know that that customs union under a Corona regime can help provide economic stimulus without, without inflation, something that was possible under prior regimes such as the Erie Canal regime of 1823, which was led by horse shepherd people, including those that were Latvian, Angrivari, which Angrivari-Latvian are the origin of American language. If you look back before Samuel Clemens, there were Mark Twain before Samuel Clemens. Mark Twain translates into German or Old Prussian, where it translates to currency god. Twain is like 12, like Deuce, like Divas, which is the Lithuanian-Latvian supreme being. And Mark was the name of their currency. There were multiple currencies on the global stage that were called the mark. And mostly I want to convince you that Samuel Clemens' iteration of Mark Twain introduced some continental stories that described the origin of Yankee, which Yankee was actually a Polish last name. It is Yankowicz. My grandmother was a Yankowicz. That's the source of the Yankees. It doesn't originate from England or Britain. It's Polish, which makes sense because Polish people built West Point. West Point right in New York, which was incredibly important, where Fort Orange was in Albany and New Amsterdam was in New York. And so West Point was critical in getting control of the spice trade, which that was the economy that was there. And in the last 80 years, America's spice regime has plummeted. And that's largely due to undervaluing spice as a global trade. And yet, if you look at the economies that have grown in the last 20 or 30 years, those that have outperformed were growing their spice trade. And that happens to get back to physiology and the psychology of how bond ratings occur on a real basis, of which spice is one of those origins of economic growth without inflation. Something I elaborate in the book, Perfecting the Brand of American Medicine. You can join us with Book 3, Brand and Ermint, of which we're offering alternatives to the certified public accounting and the one bond rating sector, which are cold, foreign, tell false histories, and introducing true histories. You don't get more true and you don't get more real than Polish, Latvian, Lithuanian, Angrivari people built West Point. It's still there. There weren't any people from England or Britain in certified public accounting telling us how to set up a base there. Something that continental Europeans already know how to do. Join us at profi.me.